Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. As you can see, we're up in the north in the Granite City here at Pittodrie Stadium, the home of Aberdeen Football Club. Ruffy and myself focusing on the Dons and their big match tomorrow at Murrayfield against Hearts. But more importantly, coming up in the next couple of weeks, there's a big meeting with the Aberdeen City Council because Aberdeen want to move to a new purpose-built stadium with state-of-the-art training facilities. And the chairman, Stewart Milne, has been talking to the Football Show, saying it's time to move. Stewart, welcome to the Football Show. I'm absolutely delighted to get the chance to have a chat with you. First and foremost, critical to Aberdeen is the move to a new stadium. The council's set to make a decision pretty soon. How confident are you that you're going to get the go-ahead?
In major planning situations, you can never be overly confident, but I think we appreciate the extent of the work that's been done over the last 18 months or so. There have been a lot of issues raised. We feel that we've now addressed all these issues, and I think within the club there's a quiet confidence there that we might get the right decision.
There are still a few people digging their heels in and objecting and putting forward a forceful argument, quite critical of the fact that this new stadium, if it was built, is in that green belt area. Have you managed to, in some way, argue that point away?
I think so. The reality is that most of the development taking place throughout the country now was once green belt. There's normally a full process that you go through to get it into a structure plan and then eventually into a local plan. But there are circumstances where the planners are justified in adopting an alternative process, and we believe that in this case the precedent's already been set. We've had planning applications for two previous sites that were both in green belt, and they both got a positive planning result. So the precedent's there, and we believe the importance of this project, not just Aberdeen Football Club, but the Aberdeen City and the whole region, is of such importance it justifies them making a departure from their greenbelt policy.
Yeah, what do you feel as if you've exhausted every opportunity to look at, for example, Lauriston or King's Links?
We've spent the best part of the last 18 years and most of that time working with the City Council to find a site. And I don't think most people appreciate to get a site big enough to deliver a stadium and training facilities, you're looking at something in the region of 60 acres. If that site's already zoned for some form of development, whether it's commercial development or residential, you're looking at values of between 600 and £1 million an acre. You do the simple maths, it's simply not viable to tackle a project where you're starting with a land value between 35 and 60 million pounds. So that's one of the reasons it's got to be in a greenbelt site. We believe we've exhausted every opportunity right across the city over that 18 years. We have looked at splitting the two. We need roughly 30 acres for the stadium, 30 for the training and community facilities. And even when we split it, we can't come up with an alternative site. We got a consent for Lauriston. Unfortunately, due to other decisions the city made, they decided that there would be a new academy built in part of the site, so it could no longer be delivered. And we believe that we've gone through the full process with them. At the end of the day, this is the only sites available to deliver this project.
Okay, you've got the you've got the site. Have you got the money?
We've got some of the money. We've always said we'd deliver a project in two phases. The first phase is the desperately needed training facilities and community facility. That's going to take roughly 10 million to deliver that. At this point in time, we've commitments for about 60% of that. We are very confident if we get the right consent on the 13th of October, we'll raise the balance, and our target is to have the first phase delivered by around about October next year. We'll then need a couple of years to raise the money for the stadium. It's going to be roughly 40 million to deliver that. But a substantial part of that will come out of the sale of Pittodrie, which we've already got a plan and consent to redevelop for residential.
Will that money that you have to try and raise be to the detriment long term of the team in any capacity?
No. I think everyone at the club very much appreciates the driving force to everything that happens at Aberdeen Football Club is what we do in the park. That's been a great thing over the last 4 years. Derek and the team have delivered consistent results. We've finished in that top two. We've got through to a number of cup finals. We've at last won a trophy. That is the driving force. That's what gives us momentum to be able to deliver both of these facilities. So it's vital that we continue to invest in the football side. We very much recognise that Celtic are in a different league from the rest of us, and fantastic it is through into the Champions League once again. But that is another big chunk of money going to go into Celtic Park. They'll invest a substantial part of that, I'm sure, in their team going forward. But we've got Rangers back and they're investing. We've got Hibs back, they're investing, and likewise at Hearts. So if we want to remain in that top end of the league, then we've simply got to invest in the football side. And what we do with the facilities side has got to be new money coming into the club.
I read and listened to you with interest saying that, a key part of keeping Derek McInnes was the plans. And if it falls, then you've got a serious issue where you could lose Derek McInnes. Is that scaremongering on this? Because usually managers are only interested in, are you going to give me the budget for players so I can put a winning team in the park?
No, they're much more conscious of that. What we've got to appreciate is, the game's played on a Saturday, but the real work is done Monday to Friday. And these guys need top-notch facilities to work on. That's what every other club is. It's embarrassing for Aberdeen, the facilities that we're asking Derek and the players to currently train on. And Derek, it's always been a major thing with him since the day he joined the club. He sees the commitment there is from the club to try and deliver these facilities. But we need the support from the wider community to get behind the club. We need the support from the city to provide the consent to enable us to deliver this facility. But it is absolutely vital for Aberdeen's future success.
You and I were in the company of Sir Alex Ferguson when he talked about the special relationship he had with the Donald family here when he was at Pittodrie. He had ambitions. He eventually got to the point where he knew he had to leave Aberdeen to achieve those ambitions. You've got one of the brightest young managers in the country here. He is going to go at some time.
Yeah, we recognise that, and I think we recognise that from the very early days. We were convinced we'd finally found a manager. It was going to take Aberdeen back up to where we should be. We've no right to be there, but we've the potential to be there, and that's what Derek's been able to deliver over the last 4 years. We do recognise that one day he will move on, and he'll move on with the blessing of everyone at the football club, because everyone recognises and appreciates what he's delivered here. But I'd like to think that Derek sees that there's unfinished business here. I always remind him that when he got the job, he promised he would deliver a number of trophies. Although he's been fantastic to date, there's only one being delivered. And I think Derek himself would be extremely disappointed to leave Pittodrie with only one trophy left on the table. So I think we can get the benefit of Derek for a few more years yet.
Yeah, we're going to have a quick break, and in that break I'm going to try and extract the number that Derek McInnes mentioned to Stewart Milne that he's going to win trophies for Aberdeen. Join us after the break. Coming up after the break, there's more from Aberdeen chairman Stewart Milne. He talks about the ambition at the Pittodrie club, the future for Derek McInnes, and of course we'll look ahead to the big match for Aberdeen at Murrayfield against Heart of Midlothian. We'll hear from the Tynecastle boss Craig Levine ahead of his first match in charge in the dugout, and we'll also focus on Rangers against Dundee, and we'll hear from the Ibrox boss Pedro Caixinha right after this quick break. Welcome back to the football show. I'm delighted to say we have the chairman of Aberdeen, Stewart Milne, here. Okay, Stewart, Derek, what did he say to you? How many trophies is he chasing up? Can you give us the figure?
No, Derek's a pretty smart guy. He very seldom sort of ties himself down, but to me it was more than one, and I think in Derek's mind it's more than one. Hope it can be quite a few before he moves on.
Yeah, Rangers came calling and looked for one of your players. You stood for him. Down in the west of Scotland, many people believe if things don't work out with Pedro Caixinha, they might come calling again for your manager. You've got him on a deal, but you know, do you anticipate in the future that they might come back for one of their old boys?
To be honest, I don't think he can think like that. No, we've got a great setup going to the club just now. Everyone is committed to trying to move his club forward, to get it and reinforce that position at the top of Scottish football. We want to be able to achieve a lot more in Europe than what we've done to date. This another year where Derek was very disappointed that we didn't manage to get through to the group stages. I think it's important that you focus on what you can manage within your own organisation. What happens in the outside world, I think, okay, you can't ignore it, but the main focus has got to be in what we're setting out to do, and if circumstances arise down the line, then we've got to be able to deal with that.
Do you think it's slightly disrespectful that maybe Rangers are talking about trying to catch Celtic when really they should be thinking, how about catching Aberdeen? You are the second force in Scottish football.
I think we all know lots of people in football say things for lots of different reasons. And again, no, I never take umbrage to anything like that. No, if that's what people want to say, it doesn't bother me. I think, as I said earlier, our focus is in what we can do at Aberdeen and what everyone is committed to here.
There are many arguments that we have in debates over the health of the game in the SPFL and the Premiership in particular. Celtic running away with it year in, year out can't be healthy. How difficult for you as a chairman and others is it to try and close that gap, especially after last year's gap?
Yeah, it's always going to be a challenge, and that's the reality. With two massive clubs in Scotland and we have another 3 or 4 good sides clubs with the city clubs. We've just got to do our best to be able to challenge them. there's always opportunities in the cup, and that's going to be our primary target. And we're going to try and push Celtic as hard as we possibly can in the league. And we've seen even this season already that they've dropped a couple of points. But I think most of us acknowledge they won't drop too many points during the course of the season, and that's what we've got to try and do.
As a chairman, what would you like to see change? What would you like implemented in the game that maybe you haven't got your own way on at the moment, or something you think would be to the betterment of our game?
I would really like us all to have the courage to just step back and take a bit of stock. I think we've got to recognise what Scottish football has come through over the last 15 years. It's come through a pretty tough time, and in the middle of that we've had a horrendous economic situation to deal with when the crash happened in 2007. We've had a number of clubs within our top league go into administration. We had our media partner went into administration. Scottish football's had to cope with a lot over the last 15 years. The last couple of years, I think we've started to give ourselves a bit of a platform. Great to see this season with all the teams back up in the top league. It'd be fantastic to see Dundee United there as well. But I think we should be using that platform to say, where do we genuinely believe we can take Scottish football over the next 5, 10, 15 years? And I personally believe if we could get our act together, get all the clubs aligned, we get the SPFL and SFA much more aligned in current they are at the moment, we could take big strides in the game over the next 5, 10 years. But there's got to be a will there from everyone.
Couple of points to finish then. Just picking up on that point, you've mentioned on a couple of occasions over the last couple of months about the fact that we should move on from the Rangers debacle. Unfortunately, there are groups of supporters and other people maybe within Scottish football who are saying if there is a misdemeanour or something that should have been picked up by the SPFL or the SFA, Rangers should potentially have a case to answer, possibly for stripping titles. How do you react to that, knowing that it's going to be out of your hands as this driving force takes it to one court, then another?
Mm-hmm. To me, there's two very important things there. I think that both the SPFL and SFA had a QCs looking at the case, and they've all come back with similar conclusions. Personally, to me, we should look back only for the purpose of learning some lessons that we can take out of that and build in to make the whole operation of both organisations stronger going forward. But if we are going to try and get Scottish football back to where it has the potential to be both at domestic level, European level and international level, we need to have the bulk of the focus going forward, not looking back.
You don't think stripping titles would serve any purpose?
I don't. From all the evidence that I've seen, there's no justification in doing that, and I don't think there's anything to be gained by anybody. It'll hold Scottish football back if we spend the next 2, 3, 4 years with a huge focus on what's happened in the past. The focus needs to be in where can we take the game going forward, and can we get everyone united behind a comprehensive plan to move Scottish football forward.
Last point, on a very positive note, you've got a manager that's getting rave reviews. You've got a recruitment policy from the summer, which I think a lot of people thought you were going to struggle to replace some key players. You seem to be stronger. What can you say to the Aberdeen fans about what the ambitions are for this club and what you want to achieve this season and for the foreseeable future on the park?
I think, first of all, I think the fans recognise just how good a management team we've got here at the club. And my ask is of everyone just to get right behind the team in every way they possibly can. We've got to work very hard to make it difficult for Derek to leave Aberdeen. The fans have seen what he's delivered over the last 4 years. Everyone had concerns in the summer. There was a risk of losing Derek, and B, the scale of the task to rebuild the team. Derek has committed himself to the club, and he's rebuilt a squad that I think most people believe is going to be as strong as what we had last year, and maybe once they all gel as an effective team, maybe even a bit stronger.
How long is your appetite for this? Have you still got the bit between your teeth?
I would be honest in saying, yeah, very much so, as much as it's ever been. And though I personally have benefited from Derek coming into the club, I love working with the guy. I think he's helped bring a new sense of energy to the club, and my appetite for, I would love to see us remaining up there, top end of the league, and over the next 2, 3, 4 years, get these top class facilities in place for the club. I think if we're able to achieve that, we'll potentially set the club up for the next 50 years and beyond, and it's going to make it easier to hold Derek, hold a lot of the good players we have, and attract the managers of the future and the players of the future if we've got the right facilities there.
Stewart, I hope you get the decision. It's been a joy talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Interesting comments from Stewart Milne on a number of issues, Ruffy, but more importantly on the park. I think Aberdeen fans will be happy to hear that the chairman has big ambitions, but with Derek McInnes here in the dugout.
Yeah, you can see how much he respected Derek's decision to come back here, and it's obviously attracted the kind of player that the Aberdeen supporters want to see.
Yeah, and of course it's a game against Hearts. Craig Levine in the dugout for the first time. That'll be interesting, and of course a wee bit of needle in this one. They wouldn't let Aberdeen train on the pitch. Don't think it really matters, do you?
No, I don't think it will, but I mean, when you come into a venue that you're not used to playing in, it's good to just see the environment of Murrayfield. It'll be a vast, and I think it's 60,000 it holds. There'll only be about 20,000 there, so it's just really to get the players into the surface.
Okay, we think Aberdeen are going to be the main challengers to Celtic. Is that fair to say on this one?
Yeah, I have to say, with the start that they've had, sitting top of the league, they'll be they'll want to divide the two old firm teams. That I think that'll be the objective, and maybe a cup thrown into it.
Yeah. Okay, who's going to win it, Aberdeen or Hearts?
I think Aberdeen have got the bit. I think they're going, they're confident, the new players are beginning to settle in with each other. I think they'll just nick it.
Yeah, okay. He says that now because he's here at Pittodrie. Wait till we drive beyond the Aberdeen area and whether he changes his mind or not. We focused on Aberdeen and their plight for a new stadium. After the break, we're going to concentrate on the other matches, not only in the Premiership in Scotland. We'll look at all 4 divisions across Scotland and cast our eye towards the Premier League in England coming up in the second half. We'll also be talking to our man down south, Ian McGarry. Join us after the break. Yeah, welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's football show, from the sunshine of Pittodrie to the bright lights of the studio. We should have stayed in Aberdeen for another night, Ruffy. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, beautiful weather up there, as you can imagine, with everything that's happening up at Aberdeen. The whole place is a buzz.
Yep, absolutely, and we could have stayed because apparently the student prices had kicked in. It's only £12 for a pint of lager, so it would have been great up there for us, Ruffy. Of course, great to see Stewart Milne so positive, but they have to produce it on the park as well. And the table toppers, yep, Aberdeen on top of the league for the moment, at least until the Hamilton Celtic game finishes. But Aberdeen are going to take on Hearts at Murrayfield. There's been a fair bit of consternation over the pitch, as Aberdeen manager Derek McInnes alluded to.
Myself, like the players, enjoy going to Tynecastle. So for loads of reasons, you know, for the atmosphere. So I think having so many in the ground will help, but it's still going to be half full at best. So it won't have that same real electric atmosphere sometimes that Tynecastle gives you. But it's about the game, to be honest. I don't think it makes it any easier, any more difficult. It's just part of the day, and we look forward to it nonetheless.
Yep, we had a chat with Derek. Seems very positive about everything that's going on at Pittodrie.
Yeah, he certainly does, and I think he just wanted, as he said there, you know, he tests the atmosphere out there. It's always good when you go to a part that you've not been to for a while, just get the players to walk in. You know, you see the international games, players go there the night before just to sample what the atmosphere might be like, and I think that's the main thing that both teams will have to contend with. I think Aberdeen are bringing maybe 6,000 or 7,000. I think Hearts will have a good 15 to 16, so I think that the stadium's only going to be a third full, so I think they'll have to maybe generate their own excitement in that one.
Yeah, well, there's a new man in the dugout. Well, I say a new man. He's been there before, but he's back. He might have a little butterflies. Craig Levein will be in the dugout. Here's Dons manager Derek McInnes' take on Craig Levein's second time around.
I'm sure Craig will want to put his own stamp on it. You know, I think not totally surprised, you know, once you actually get your head round the fact when he was appointed. You know, it's normally the way when clubs go from having a younger manager, if it hasn't worked out, they go to an experienced pair of hands. If it's an experienced pair of hands, it hasn't worked, they go for somebody younger. It's normally they go the other way, and you know, Craig knows the club inside out. I'm sure he probably wouldn't have predicted them being himself back in the dugout. But I'm sure now, once the decision to go back in, he'll be relishing it now. You know, I view him as a manager, not a director of football. So, you know, that's where he's done a lot of good work in his time as a manager.
Yep, Derek McInnes, very complimentary about Craig Levein in the dugout, and the Hearts manager gave us his assessment of the Dons boss.
What's interesting is that he's arguably got more talented players this time round. He's lost some tried and tested and proven players in this league. But you look at the results, I mean, they've started the season on fire again, and I'm a huge admirer of Del's. You know, I think he's done a wonderful job at Aberdeen.
I can't wait to see how Craig Levein's side are going to play, Ruffy.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the Hearts supporters will be as well. Obviously, he's in there, he'll have his own ideas, he'll have watched what the previous manager has picked, you know, and how they've played. So I think it's an exciting time for Hearts, you know, because you'll be going along there, obviously, as I said, looking at team selection and then seeing how they're going to play. But I think with Craig there, he's got bags of experience, and I think whoever goes to that game tomorrow is in for a good one.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he feels just as he walks out into the dugout as the Hearts boss once more. Here's his thoughts on it.
You know, I know the club extremely well. I first joined in 1983, 14 years a player, 4 years a manager, 3 years a director of football, and back to this job again. So I know the club inside out, I know the Scottish Premier League inside out. We've got a situation which is a little bit unusual, but yeah, there's ways of coping with that.
Okay, from Hearts against Aberdeen, we're going to switch our attention to the other fixtures right across the board. Here's how it looks for Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock. We'll be on STV2. Of course, we'll have reaction from Hamilton against Celtic, Hearts Aberdeen, Motherwell Kilmarnock, Rangers against Dundee, Ross County against Partick Thistle, and St Johnstone against Hibernian. Let's turn our attention to Rangers, because it hasn't been the best of starts. I think this is where Kenny Miller mentioned the other day there, they really need to start to just pick up a run of results, Ruffy.
Yeah, I think more importantly, I think it's all about pleasing your home supporters, and that's what they'll be wanting to do, and a convincing win into that. You know, I think everybody has already spoke about every game as a pressure game, but I think when you play with Rangers and Celtic, that is the case. But they do need to get a handsome win at home to send the supporters away happy.
Yep, and of course they're coming up against a coach who knows Ibrox only too well. He had a barload of medals in his time at Rangers as a player. Neil McCann's now in the dugout, and Pedro Caixinha, the Rangers boss, has a lot of admiration for him.
I think Neil is a positive coach. You just need to sometimes look the way the teams play to understand what the managers want or they think about football. So when I see one team that try to play positive football, building up from the back, opening the team, trying to connect the lines, of course they have also some pace on the wide areas, but play differently in a style that normally the big teams are having, I stay happy with that.
Okay, still haven't seen the best of Dundee. Will they offer any real threat at home for Rangers?
No, I think if you were to get Neil McCann to analyse the games that they played this year, I think he would say, taking their chances, they could have done a lot better than what they have. So if they get any chances at Ibrox tomorrow, they have to take them, and they have to take them and then show everybody that they're good enough to sort of see the game out. But I think Neil's just waiting on them turning the corner. But it's a difficult place to go in if you want that to happen.
Yep, the other games in the division that we're going to talk about, St Johnstone against Hibs, of course. Hibs go to McDermott Park on a high after Neil Lennon signing that deal.
Yeah, again, everything seems to be rosy. Easter Road, obviously, with Neil committing himself, I'm sure the players will be happy with that. And he'll be hoping to kick on again, but we know that St Johnstone sometimes can be a very difficult place to go and get a win, but he'll be up there thinking his players are good enough to get it.
Yep, well, they're unbeaten since the start of the season, but can Hibs get up there to McDermott Park and take maximum points? Well, as Ruffy mentioned there, most of the players, especially Paul Hanlon, delighted that Neil Lennon has committed himself long-term to Hibs.
He demands the best every training session, every game, and it's great to have a person like that leading the club going forward, and he strives for the best, so hopefully he can take us there. I think he's probably the one that shows his passion the most. He's kicks every ball with us in a game and even in training sessions as well, so he's got a very high demand for the standards that he wants, and no, I think that's a great thing to have within the club. You're under no certain terms of what he expects of you, and he demands from you every single training session. So I think that's, for me personally, I think that's what gets the best out of me, and I'm sure the boys will agree.
Fir Park, Motherwell, Kilmarnock. Now this is an interesting one, Ruffy, because quite simply Motherwell could put a fair bit of distance between themselves and Kilmarnock if they can get the win, and it would heap even more pressure on Killie, who are still searching about for that first win in the division.
Yeah, I think the Kilmarnock supporters thought that Lee had turned the corner. He brought in a lot of experienced players. It hasn't worked for them so far. I'm sure they'll be working hard to get that first win, and they probably get along to Fir Park, although that Motherwell have done particularly well at the start of the season. It's a fixture you would think you would go along there and try and take something out of the game.
Yeah, and Motherwell boss Stephen Robinson well aware they'll face a few of their ex-players wearing the blue and white stripes of Killie.
I would imagine Lee and Dom are looking to impress in every game to stay in the team, so I wouldn't imagine there'd be any extra special come back here to try and impress. They're both good boys, really good lads, and talented players. Make no mistake, it was Dom that wanted to leave here for first team football. I was quite happy for Dom to stay here, but he's gone, he's done okay. So we're well aware of both threats, and we know they're good technical players, so I don't think there'll be any added incentive for them. We'll concentrate on us and what we do and how we win the game.
Who do you see winning that, Ruffy? Motherwell will get a good record against Killie.
You certainly have. I'm going to sit on the fence in this one. I think that it will be a 2-each draw.
Okay. Ross County against Partick Thistle. Well, it's hard to believe. I just can't believe the start your old side have made to this campaign.
Yeah, I've said it on numerous occasions. I don't think Partick Thistle have the easiest start to the season. Obviously playing Celtic, playing Aberdeen, playing Hibs. 3 teams that are really on form, but I think Alan has been pleased with some of the performances and not getting the points on the board. So they've got a reasonable record as well up at Ross County, so maybe we'll be hoping this could be the start of the season.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem for Ross County, as we mentioned at the start of the season, is the fact that when you lose Liam Boyce, it leaves a huge hole.
Yeah, it certainly does, but they've got other players there. Curran's always a threat. And, I'm sure Jim, Alan, will want to kickstart his season. They were pretty poor against Rangers the other week there. So I think this will be a really tight one, and maybe just the odd goal sneaking it.
Yeah, for who?
Partick.
Okay, I thought you might opt for the Jags. Okay, coming up after the break, we'll look at all the other divisions in Scotland, the fixture list, and then we'll cast our eye towards the English Premier League, and we'll speak to our man down south, Ian McGarry. Join us if you can. Never seen you jump in so quickly to give me the answer on that. You were super confident.
Yeah, I think I would have got that one wrong. I'd have been in trouble because that was the year I was at Celtic.
Yeah, okay. That's true. You brought back from Orlando. Who comes back from Orlando to join Celtic? I mean, honestly, sunshine, you're out there. George Best is out there. It doesn't get any better, Ruffy.
No, it doesn't. It was wonderful. But I've said it on numerous occasions. You get a chance to join one of the big clubs. You want to sample what it's like. And I have to say it was a fantastic experience.
Yep, okay. Let's move into the Championship because there are some fantastic games to look forward to tomorrow on the programme. Here's the fixture list for the Championship. Regan City, Falkirk. Dundee United against Dumbarton, Livingston, Queen of the South, Morton, Dunfermline, and St Mirren against Inverness, Cally Thistle. We'll have our man Des McKeown out there at Morton, Dunfermline, because it just has the makings of a fantastic game. The Pars just flying high at the top of the table.
Yeah, they are, and this will be a massive test for them. I'm sure Morton will have something to say about that. Morton always had a very good start to the season, and it's always a tough place to go to. So I think at the end of the day, when we look at the result in this game, we maybe should really start thinking about Dunfermline being a challenge this season.
Yeah, well, we already mentioned that Alan Johnson picked up the Manager of the Month, and no surprise Joe Cardle picking up the Player of the Month.
Yeah, an exciting player. You know, great taking on defenders. You know, a great bit of skill he's got, and he can score spectacular goals. And yeah, he scored enough of them in that month, so he deserves every bit of it.
Yeah, have we been maybe unfair on Queen of the South that we haven't really mentioned them as much? Because they're up at the top end of the table, Ruffy, along with St Mirren and Dundee United. I don't think really in the last couple of weeks we've mentioned them, and we're running into the guys on a regular basis too.
No, and I don't think they'll be annoyed by that. You know, sometimes it's good, you know, just to keep in the background so nobody's putting any pressure on you. You just keep churning away and getting the results. But again, they're a team who are always there or thereabouts for the top four, so I'm sure they'll be trying to sneak into the top four this year.
Okay, Queen of the South at Livingston, and of course St Mirren is one of the other big games that we always keep our eye on because St Mirren at home to Inverness. Inverness need to start getting you know, the run going. I think Robbo's team will take a wee bit of time to gel in.
Yeah, well, he had a good result there in the Cup. You know, he'll be hoping he can take that on to a league game. I'm sure St Mirren will know that the Inverness have got some experienced players and they'll make it tough for them. But again, I think St Mirren is another one you'll be looking at that result, and if they were to notch another win, they become contenders as well.
Okay, from the Championship, here's how it looks in League One for tomorrow's fixtures. Alloa against Forfar, Arbroath against Albion Rovers, East Fife against Queen's Park, Wraith Rovers Ayr United, and Stranraer against Airdrie. League 2, Edinburgh City Berwick Rangers, Elgin City against Annan, Peterhead Montrose, Stenhousemuir against Cowdenbeath, and Stirling Albion against Clyde. And as far as the English Premier League is concerned, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Bournemouth, Brighton, West Brom, Everton against Tottenham, Leicester, Chelsea, and Southampton, Watford. And 4 games, well, the late kick-off is Stoke City, Manchester United, and the other 3 games, Burnley, Crystal Palace, Swansea City, and Newcastle Sunday, and Monday's West Ham against Huddersfield. Well, as ever, we always like to talk to our man down south, Ian McGarry. I caught up with him earlier along with Ruffy. asking Ian first of all about this closing of the transfer window down south for next season before the season kicks off. What's the feeling among everyone down there?
I have to say, Peter, it's been bafflement plus a sense of relief with some clubs, because obviously we had 15 vote in favour of the Premier League stakeholders and 5 vote against. Now, 2 of those were Manchester United and Manchester City. And Jose Mourinho said this afternoon that he cannot understand why England would handicap itself in the transfer window by allowing European leagues elsewhere to be able to trade for 3 weeks, up to 3 weeks after England closes its window. Now, we've seen already in this window, which has just closed, the pursuit of Felipe Coutinho, the pursuit of Alex Sanchez at Arsenal as well, by PSG, by Barcelona. So I think there's a lot of, let's just say, confusion as to what exactly the advantage is for English clubs next season, unless, of course, and this is a very big if, the rest of Europe falls into line, which, quite frankly, I can't see that happening.
Ian, obviously that's the transfer deadline closed now. Which of the teams do you think's done the best business?
Strangely, Ruffy, I think the bigger clubs will be slightly disappointed. I think Manchester City obviously wanted Alexis Sanchez to be part of their squad, which I think Guardiola would have seen that as a Premier League title winning signing. I think Chelsea have been disappointed also in several targets. Liverpool clearly have, they think they've won by keeping Coutinho and not allowing him to go to Barcelona, although time will tell whether or not that it remains a player who can play under those very difficult circumstances where he himself saw himself in the Barcelona shirt. Weirdly, I would say Swansea City, who signed Renato Sanchez, and also Wilfred Boney came back, and also West Bromwich Albion, who signed Grzegorz Krychowiak from Paris Saint-Germain, and also retained Johnny Evans. I think those clubs actually would say they won when the window closed.
Yeah, the great thing about any game of football in any division in any country, Ian, is we're all guilty of a knee-jerk reaction. Arsenal don't win a game and everybody thinks it's the same old Arsene Wenger. And then over and above that, we're trying to analyse who the runners and riders are going to be at the top end. Pep Guardiola reckons Liverpool are in the mix. Is he just being nice because they're playing Liverpool?
Well, look, if it was all about forward lines, Peter, then yes. Mane, Firmino and Salah have shown themselves to be formidable going forward. Liverpool are a classic counter-attacking Jurgen Klopp side, no doubt about it. This is how Klopp said they absorb pressure. They play high-tempo pressing. They can play all day like that. What we know about Klopp teams historically, though, is that their pre-season is set up to make them very energetic at the beginning of the season. Now, what they don't tend to do is carry that through the marathon, as we say. So February, March, April, May, those teams tire. I think Guardiola was being a little bit cute when he said that they were contenders. However, I think we'll see something very interesting tomorrow between those two clubs, and that is two teams who are very good up front and very dodgy at the back. So if you're a betting man, go for the goals plus tomorrow, because there's going to be goals in this game. Of course, the widest touch will say we're 0-0. Let's hope not.
Yeah. Just to finish then, there's one game that I'm keeping my eye on, if only for the gestures from one of the players and the pelters that the other player's going to get. I'm talking, of course, about Wayne Rooney, Everton against Tottenham, and Dele Alli's also getting himself in trouble with FIFA.
Well, Peter, I think we're all used to Wayne Rooney hitting the headlines on the front pages. It's a shame, I think. Because the move to Everton was all about him sleeping in his Everton pyjamas, and of course maybe partner girl Laura Swinson could confirm or deny that for us. However, with Dele Alli, I just don't get why this guy can't just screw his nut, as we say in Scotland, and get down to what is the basics of football, and that is applying himself properly, applying his talent, which he has oodles of, and then just getting on with his game, because he doesn't need all of this sort of, FIFA today, as you rightly say, have launched an investigation into his little sign during the game last Tuesday night. Why should he even bother doing it? He should actually be concentrating on his game because he's an immensely talented footballer, and Spurs have got a proper chance of landing every trophy this season. So I think what we'd like to see from Dele Alli is just concentrate on the game.
And I can't let you go without mentioning the fact we've won 2 games, 6 points out of 6 for Scotland. Are you filled with confidence for our hopes for Russia in the last 2 games?
I'm overflowing with confidence. I absolutely am. I was a little bit fretful when England went 1-0 down to Slovakia. However, like everyone else, I think we can do it. I think we can. And, you know, we rode a shot at being disappointed in a new way, which would be going out in the playoffs. So let's get to that point, and then, you know, hopefully, maybe, just maybe, we'll surprise ourselves and get through.
Yeah, good stuff. Even Ian's positive. See, it's rippling through the entire team on this programme.
Yeah, it certainly is. I think we're all beginning to, in the next 3 weeks, you know, get right behind the country, and I hope we can pull it off, because I'm sure a lot of people would want to, if not go to the World Cup, but actually see it.
Yeah. Just briefly, Ruffy, James McFadden's back in football. He's signed a short-term deal with Queen of the South. He's going to be our guest next week, 10 years since France-Scotland, and that infamous goal. Great for James to get back playing again.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, obviously, he's getting on a wee bit in his career, but he's a player and thankfully wants to keep playing. You know, he still thinks he can offer something, and I'm sure Queen of the South will get the benefit of that.
Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed my day up at Aberdeen. You?
Yes, I did. It was lovely. I thought his house would have been a wee bit bigger.
Yeah, absolutely. I almost lost you at one point, I thought, when you were going to the toilet. Absolutely magnificent. Thank you to Stewart Milne for accommodating us, and all the Aberdeen staff, Dave McDermott, and great to chat to Derek McInnes as well and see some old friendly faces. Join us tomorrow. We'll find out how Aberdeen get on against Hearts. 2 o'clock, STV2. If you can join us, we'd love to see you there. Thank you for watching. Good night.